Hello, welcome to my channel. It's another beautiful night, another beautiful day here in Manchester, United Kingdom. I was just thinking about a moment in my lifetime, about 20 years ago. Something very touchy, something that every time I think about it, it touches my mind. So I decided to share this wonderful experience with you out there, whoever is watching, because I know this experience, this my story is gonna inspire someone out there. And basically, the fact about this experience is just not giving up. No matter what you're going through, don't give up. Just hang in there, have hope, have faith, even when it's over, even when it seems like hope is not coming from nowhere. Just have a little faith. About 20 years ago, I was looking for a promotion, and so I worked so hard. I did everything possible. I made sure my recommendations, my work, my reputation, my references was correct. And so I made the application for that promotion. So when I applied for that promotion, about 3 weeks later, they turned down. My promotion was rejected. And as human, I felt very bad. I felt broken. I felt like this was a point for me to be promoted. So I went back to my knees and I prayed. I was touched. I was moved. I felt like I can't stay on the spot. I felt like I can't be retarded. I can't stay stagnant. So what I did is I said, okay, cool. What I needed to do was to apply for an administrative review at that point. This was 20 years ago to be precise. So I said, all right, cool. I am the only person qualified for this position. I am the only person who's got the work reference, who's got the years of experience of expertise. Let me apply for this position. And my faith was firm. I was a Christian, I believed in God. I was all I did was just it was Him basically. All that I did in my life was just I would put everything before God. I would go in prayers, I would go to I would travel around going to spiritual resort centers for prayers and the rest of it. So at that point, I didn't understand why I was rejected. It was difficult for me because I felt like I deserved that promotion. I felt like for no reason should they have rejected me. It was something that was due. I concluded I was due for that promotion at that point in my life. So I went down on my knees, like I said. I started praying. I took off days for prayers. I was studying the word. I tried motivating myself. Then finally, I got the motivation to put down, you know, in words. I tried to apply. I applied for an administrative review so that the organization might have to consider my request for that promotion. So when I submitted that application for the review, asking them to review, you know, the request I'd made, which initially had been rejected, I submitted it. There was a process that has to be followed, which I did. I followed the process. Officially, I submitted the application for that administrative review, and a week passed by, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month, and I was like, what's going on? When it was like a month, I was shocked. I was like, what's gonna happen to me now? Because I was really believing that the administrative review that I applied for was gonna work. So my spirit was down. I was broken, and I felt rejection. I felt, am I gonna be here again? Am I gonna be on that spot for how many years? How many more years do I have to be in that position? I was longing for, an upliftment, because that promotion would be a big blessing to me and my family. That was a position in my life where I just needed that big change. It was a point. It was that point that I was gonna break even. So after the first month, I was broken. There was no response. And I just went on. After about, I think, the fifth, sixth week, I forgot it. I gave up. I concluded that the company, the organization didn't want to promote me. So I continued with my life. I kept going. I kept working. I I didn't change actually, but I just went on doing my good deeds, continued with my work. But every time I still had that wound, I still had that pain. Consciously, I was still reflecting. I was still going back to that feeling of being rejected. That feeling of, was I not worthy? Was I not worthy of that growth? Was I not worthy of that promotion at that point? And it made me question my relationship with God. I was always asking him, what have I done? I was always like, Lord, and at the point I was really, I was mad. I was questioning God. I was like, where are you? Why did he let that happen to me? But there was something that really amazed me. By the time it was 3 months, so many things had happened, in 3 months, that so many experiences that I've had, Then we got into this fourth month, the fifth month, the sixth month. By the time it was 6 months, I've had so many experiences that money can't buy. I've had so many experiences, especially embarrassments, insult from people who treated me as a result of that promotion that I didn't get. I Many times I was moved to tears. Many times I got back home, I was ashamed. I felt like, especially when you see your colleagues moving on, I was in pain. I was in agony. My spirit, my soul was down, 6 months. That was at 6 months. But something happened at 7 months. I think it was the seventh month, I had motivation. I started reading books again. I picked up, started listening to music, and I started, empowering myself. I started reactivating the urge, the motivation, because naturally I was this kind of person that I never sought anyone for help. I would try to motivate myself all the time whenever I'm down, no matter what I'm going through or however I was feeling. So what I did is I picked up some books, started reading again. Normally I read all the time, but some very strong deep books, Science of the Mind and the rest of them. So I started reading again, and I was listening to music and started meditation, and so it got to about, I think it got to a year. After a year, at this time, I just generally concluded it was over. I stopped trusting or believing, well, I would get that promotion and the rest of it. I just moved on, started doing my thing, went on my daily activities, my work. Well, the struggle was no more, because that promotion didn't come. So, there was nothing I could do. I was just doing what I was doing at that time. I kept doing what I was doing at that time. Like I said, I've been insulted by a lot of people. A lot of people looked down on me at that point because it went viral that, I'd sought out for that promotion and I got rejected by the organization. But like I said, that promotion would have brought me a lot, increase in my pay rate, a bigger house, a better car, a blessing to my family. By then, I already had my own family then. So we went to a year plus, I think a year, 2 months. By year, 3 months for me, it was like past it. I stopped bothering, I stopped worrying. I just kept on improving myself. I kept working. But then one major thing that happened to my life in that 1 year, 3 months, by the time it was a year, 3 months, was I realized that I touched a lot of people. I spent more time helping people, I was relevant. I was available for a lot of people who had a lot of problems. It was a point in my life where I was in pain, but I was also a joy to a lot of people. I was relevant to help a lot of people solve problems in their life. So by the time it got to a year and 6 months, something amazing happened. By the time it was a year, 6 months, I started questioning. Actually, I started questioning myself, like, what wrong have I done? Could I have done anything wrong? Was it that there were errors in my application? Was it something I was supposed to submit or talk about that I didn't talk about? Was there something I was supposed to include in the administrative review that I applied for that I didn't add to the application? I started questioning. I started reflecting, flashbacks. Always going back to the whole process. From the very beginning and then till that 1 year, 6 months. I was just thinking, and I came to understand that even if that was a delay, that it was still divine. It was still God's divine plan for me to give me that room, that chance to discover myself, to be available and useful to a lot of people, and to have achieved the things that I achieved in that solitude, in that pain, through the pain. You'll be astonished to discover that the most difficult times in your life turn out to be really, really a blessing. A lot of people don't really get it. A lot of people don't really see how a very bad situation could be a blessing. I witnessed it. I saw it. I saw how that very bad situation was the very moment that I was useful, I was available for people. And in that 1 year, 6 months, by that 1 year, 6 months, I had helped a lot of people solve the biggest problems of their life. And then I was kind of free. So I started questioning, reflecting on everything I did, the initial application, the rejection. Then when I reapplied for the administrative review, and then something struck me. I started feeling uncomfortable. That was at 1 year, 6 months. I started feeling very, very uncomfortable, really. And for another 2 months till a year, 8 months, 9 months, I just felt very uncomfortable. There was this very strange, weird feeling that I started questioning what really went wrong. I started asking myself, did I really do a mistake somewhere? What was it that I did that promotion was not given to me? I prayed, I fasted, I did everything that I needed to do, but I didn't get it then. I concluded at that 1 year, 8, 9 months that I didn't get it, because honestly, I didn't get it because I didn't get it. That was what I believed in. That was what I believed. Everything about my life then was there in my junk mail. I was shocked. I was I was shocked. I took the phone, I rang the organization about, because it was the headquarters that I had to ring. So when I rang the headquarters and I made reference to the promotion letter I just found out in my junk mail, they were like, yes, you got promoted. Yes, we approved you. Yes, you were amazing. We accepted your request and we already promoted you. We already gave you that position that you wanted. So what happened is I got promoted 2 years ago. I actually got promoted, but I didn't know. I didn't check my junk mail. In 2 years, I've questioned myself a billion times. I've questioned God a million times. I've cussed out myself, cussed out my destiny. There was nothing I didn't see. There was nothing I didn't think about. But the message, the promotion letter, was in my junk mail. And the office didn't contact me. They said, we believed you saw the promotion, but you didn't call us. You didn't ask for it. You didn't contact us to tell us you got it. So they didn't bother to make further actions, you know. What am I trying to say? You see, many times we cry, many times we worry, many times we conclude it is over. And what you are crying for, you already have it. Many times we give up on ourselves or we give up on people. But to be honest, what you are worrying about, you already have it. Even the word of God tells us we already have it. So in my case, just like in your case, some of the things you worry about, some of the things you desire, some of the things that you look forward to having, you already have. You know, you already have it. You just have to wait. And while you're waiting, be wise. Be wise. There is no delay that is a denial. All things work together for good. Everything is working together for good in your life. No matter how bad it seems, it looks, it's working together for your own good. Because when I reflect on these 2 years, I wouldn't have been what I turned out to become. You know, the 2 years that I was waiting, that 2 years that I actually was waiting for, that rest was, I was waiting for that promotion. I've discovered myself. I discovered a lot of things about myself. I discovered a lot of things that I never knew about myself. I was able to create things. I was able to write. I wrote a lot of things in those 2 years. It made me have a touch with myself. I discovered who I was. So I want to say to you today that through trials and temptation, when things are very difficult, it's not the end. There is no way it's the end. Just wait. That thing that you're asking God for, that thing that you want God to do for you, He's done it already. He's not man that He should lie. Trust me, He's not man that He should lie. You see, that's why I'm using my own personal experience. I waited for 2 years, thinking, still hoping, not knowing that what I was crying for, I already got it. I got it 2 years ago, but I didn't know. You know, I questioned every day. I questioned God. I didn't know God already gave me all that I asked for, all that I wanted. He already promoted me. But it was in my junk mail. I didn't see it. Whether that was my ignorance or my negligence, they still work together for my good because, like I said, I wouldn't have become the man that I became. I wouldn't have been relevant because if I'd gotten that promotion then, if I'd seen that promotion then, I wouldn't have been available for those people that I became relevant in their own lives. Do you see? Do you understand? If I had gotten that promotion, if I'd seen it, there was no way my social stratification would have changed instantly. It was the biggest upgrade then 20 years ago. There was no way I could have mingled, you know, or been available to those that I was available to. See, God sometimes uses situations to humble us. He humbles you because He wants to use you. And sometimes we have to make ourselves available. When we disapprove of His calling, His intention for our purpose to use us, He could use anything. In my case, He used my ignorance or my negligence in not seeing my promotion letter to bless me by changing me, and yet blessing others. God is amazing. He's just a good God. No matter what you say, it's an amazing God. You know, it's an amazing God. That was 20 years ago. When I remember that moment today, I still give thanks. still give thanks to God. He's merciful. So you out there, mothers, fathers, young people, no matter what it is, trust him. He will never fail you. Bye.